Hello everybody, it's Joe here and welcome back to my F123 My Team career mode. We got another sprint weekend here as we head to the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Qatar, well, it didn't really go great for us. The sprint race was okay, we got P3 in that, but unfortunately there was a red flag, an unfortunate time in the race in Qatar, and our strategy just didn't work out, and as a result it was no points. But we're coming here and I'm going to try and get the momentum going again because we did get a podium at Suzuka. So let's push forwards now, take Qatar out of our minds and just take the positives that exist from Qatar, which was the car is looking more and more competitive as we get towards this end of the season, though the way I took that corner there isn't particularly competitive. We set the fastest time only for Max Verstappen to then go half a second quicker. But it doesn't matter because that was enough to get us through Q1 and into Q2. And towards the end of our Q2 lap we come now. And this is looking like a pretty promising lap, if I may say. Clipping the apex of 19 perfectly before we head into 20. And this is looking like a pretty solid lap, a pretty competitive lap. It is the fastest time of all in Q2, and now in Q3 I am going for pole. The pace in this car is there, and you know what, I am pushing it to its limit and a little bit beyond there as I have a little bit of a slide through the corner, but the car is just giving. I can push and the car is sticking to the circuit, and that's the first time in this career mode I have felt like I could just push for it and the car will stick and it feels competitive. Right, here we go then, across the line. Where will we start the sprint race in this US Grand Prix? It is P1, it is pole position for the sprint. That is a very encouraging start to this weekend. I couldn't be happier with how we have started that. Yeah, P1, let's go.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top three today. Sparkles, Russell and Lando Norris. With qualifying wrapped up now, we have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race. So it's all about speed in today's sprint. Not very many laps and no chance to get ahead on strategy. Who here today has the raw skill to take them to the top? Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Sparkles lines up on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Norris, Perez, Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Sainz, Gasly, Magnussen, Stroll, Helga, Ocon, De Vries, Albon, Bottas, Hulkenberg, Tsunoda, Joe, Oscar Piastri, Liam Lawson and Logan Sargent. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
But that is just one part of the job. We have two further parts, the first of which being the sprint race. And it is lights out and away we go for this sprint. We get a good getaway. And George Russell, who's alongside us, also seems to get away well. And we head into turn one, maintaining the lead, albeit going a bit deep. But we do maintain the lead. Perez and Russell are having a little scrap over second. But I think that's sorted itself out in favour of Russell. Perez, Norris, Verstappen behind, snapping at the heels. So let's try and have a competitive first lap and try and stretch out what we can of a gap, and so far so good, leading all the way through the first sector. But George Russell right behind me, I don't think he's going to be easy to shake off in this sprint race as we head towards the main straight. And are we going to be able to keep ahead? I think so. We've got just about enough of a gap and we get a much better exit out of the corner. So for now we are leading the way at the end of this first lap. Oh, that sunset glint though, that could get annoying as this race progresses. Leading the way then, it's myself, Russell, Perez, Verstappen and Norris. The top 5, Max getting ahead of Norris. And we carry on that lead. We're again just a little bit deep into one. That is not the way to take the first corner, but still leading the way. But as we get to lap 4, Russell is starting to attack me. And I feel like it could be a matter of when over if, but we are going to try with everything we have to defend it. Russell not attacking yet. So at the moment we're still holding on to the lead, but look at that glint of the sun as it's quite low in the sky this late in the afternoon at Austin, and that is quite distracting, especially when we're going down the straight trying to pick a line for the corner. Meanwhile, we're now watching Lance Stroll having a look at Lando Norris. Lance Stroll trying to move up the order here, get himself into P5. The McLarens aren't looking particularly quick at the moment. They're losing quite a bit of time to the front runners, and Lance Stroll is taking P5 from Lando Norris. Norris trying to hold on, but the momentum Stroll has out of the corner, Norris has no choice but to back out of that one, and he might be vulnerable to Kevin Magnussen next time round. Meanwhile, here's Charles Leclerc making his way forward. He lost out after a bad qualifying, so he's trying to make his way forward. He's now attacking my teammate Dennis Hauger for P10 and pushing his way through. Charles Leclerc moving up and demoting our teammate. But here we are on lap 8. Russell's having to go down the inside, and Russell taking the lead and using a very unconventional overtaking place there. And I think he's got the DRS. So George Russell getting through and also getting the bonus of DRS. That was a late time from Russell, and I think that has given him the lead of the sprint race. I'm trying to take it back, but we've gone ever so deep there. And I'm lucky I didn't lose out to a Red Bull in the process. And I think for now it's going to be a case of settling for P2, because look how quickly George Russell is pulling away. That Mercedes is scintillatingly quick round here. And now I've got 2 Red Bulls right behind me, Perez and Verstappen. Verstappen on soft tyres though, so I don't know if they're going to start feeling like they're at the end of their natural life. And we have a yellow flag because somebody is slowing down there. I think that's the Alfa Romeo, so that's bad luck for him. I think that might be Zhou. So Zhou having no luck from this sprint at all. But as we reach lap 10, Russell has stretched out a gap of 2 seconds. And Perez is having a look for second. Perez going down the inside. Is he going to make it work? He's ahead going into the corner, but he's going to have to turn in very tight, and that will compromise his speed. And now I have the inside for the next part. Perez trying to hold it out around the outside. That does not work, and we hold on to P2. Had to do a little bit of defending and a bit of work there, but we have held on to P2, and it looks like we're going to for the duration of the race, pending any mistakes in the last couple of corners. But I think we're all good. Clipping 19 nicely, and Russell rounding 20 to take the win. And George Russell wins the sprint, but we go one better than we did in Austin, than we did in Qatar, sorry, by finishing in P2 for the sprint. And that sets us up nicely for the Grand Prix ahead of us. A P2 finish and some competitive pace for us. So I feel like we are definitely in the mix for a podium. And I'm hoping we can hold on to a podium in the for the main event. But for now, it's P2 for us, with Russell winning, Perez third, then it's Verstappen, Stroll, Norris, and I can't see who else because I've gone straight to look at the championship standings to see how that's affected things. And Verstappen has cut Alonso's gap down by just a little bit. The championship getting ever tighter as we move towards the US Grand Prix.
Well, you don't need me to remind you that Formula One is now so beloved in the United States that we race here 3 times a year. But let's give respect to COTA, or the Circuit of the Americas, to give it its full name. This place laid the foundations for this moment and still remains the host of the US Grand Prix. We're racing today then in Travis County, Texas, where 20 corners and speeds of up to 200 miles per hour await us on this magnificent racetrack. It's 60% full throttle with plenty of good opportunities to pass, especially through the 2 DRS zones into turn 1 and the long back straight into turn 12. What a race we have in store today. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. George Russell will begin today's event in pole position, and Sparkles completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Verstappen, Stroll, Norris, Sainz, Magnussen, Fernando Alonso, Helga, Gasly, Albon, De Vries, Bottas, Oscar Piastri, Tsunoda, Ocon, Hulkenberg, Liam Lawson, Leclerc, Sargent, and Zhou Guanyu. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. And now, can I get your take on Max Verstappen?
Here we go then. It's the US Grand Prix. Starting P2 alongside George Russell. It's lights out and away we go. Russell gets away well, covers me. I now try and go for the racing line to try and go around the outside of the Mercedes. And we're side by side, but I've gone a bit deep and Russell covering. Russell covers well as we head into the bendy section of Sector 1. And Russell keeping the gap ahead through the rapid left-right. But we're now going to try and stay with him to see if we can launch an attack down the main straight. Look how close we are, staying with George Russell. Perez is in third, Stroll fourth, Sainz fifth. As we have a look at George Russell's Mercedes heading to this main straight now. I've gone a bit deep, I did not want to do that, but now we're on the main straight. I'm going to drain the battery. We're going to try and get a good run. We're closing in, we're getting ever closer to the Mercedes. It is going to be a now or never dive because I know the Mercedes will be quicker than us. Down the inside, have we got it? We're still side by side with Russell. Going to try and go around the outside here. Russell goes in tight. I'm trying to sweep around the outside, but we bang wheels. I've gone wide. And Russell stays ahead after what was quite an epic duel there. But Russell keeping his foot in it. Not giving us any way through there. As we now head to the main straight once again. And I try and get a run. But Russell a bit further ahead this time. And I think maybe, just maybe, too far ahead for us to have a full-blown attack. Russell now in P1, and yeah, we are just too far back at this stage. And Russell, I think, is now going to disappear into the distance. Meanwhile, Lance Stroll, who had an epic start moving up into P4, his luck has run out. The Mercedes is grinding to a halt, and that is Lance Stroll out of the races. Lando Norris takes avoiding action and is having a look at Alex Albon in the Haas at the same time, trying to kill two birds with one stone, but he's going to have to let Albon back through, as I'm sure that's a yellow flag, and he's not allowed to overtake there. Norris now having a go at Albon down the straight, and this time Lando getting it done. Now we ride on board with Charles Leclerc, who's having a look at Oscar Piastri up the inside of 20. You don't see an overtake there often, but Charles Leclerc getting through and moving up a position, and we have lost a few seconds to Russell now. George on a run and is just pulling into the distance as Sergio Perez is having a look, and this is shades of the sprint race all over again as Perez sticks his car up the inside. No way through there. We're just going to stick it round the outside and doing what Russell did to us earlier, just running Perez a little bit wide, and Sainz is now coming through on Perez. So Carlos Sainz moving into P3, Sergio Perez dropping to fourth, and it's Kevin Magnussen in the McLaren running fifth, and that McLaren showing more pace in this race than it did in the sprint. Right, here we go, lap 7 down the pit straight, and Carlos Sainz having a go down the inside. We're going to have to use overtake out, well, we don't use overtake out of the corner, but we do get a better run, and Sainz having to concede position, and he loses the position to Perez there after attacking us, so that's not what he would have wanted. Lap 9 and Sainz and Perez are attacking each other again, and I'm sure Sainz is going to take the place back. They're both down the inside of me now. How did that happen? I'm just going to have to use the better exit and try to keep the inside and try and keep position, which we have done. But Sainz has got through on Perez as well. So Perez, the big loser in all of that, he was going for second, and he's now dropped to fourth. And Magnussen is going to be snapping at his heels. Lap 10, here we go again. Defence needed as Carlos Sainz is going to try and send one up the inside. I offer little resistance to that, trying to go around the outside to make it work. No, Carlos Sainz takes P2, and I'm thinking, you know what? It's time to bring these very warm softs into the pits and take on a set of mediums, get some fresh tyres, and see if we can undercut Carlos Sainz and retake P2. I think George Russell is just too far in the distance here, but we have a problem. And that's that we've come out into a little bit of traffic because we've got Ocon and Hulkenberg dead ahead, but we make easy work of them, and we're making easy work of Tsunoda too as we stick to the inside. Tsunoda trying to defend us a little bit there, but we make that work, and the good news is we've kept ahead of Magnussen, although going deep there isn't going to help us, and Tsunoda trying to retake the place, but there's no way through there. And Russell is still ahead of us, maintaining that lead. So Russell obviously pitching in just a lap or so after us, just to ensure that he's able to stay ahead and that he doesn't lose too much time to us. He did end up losing a couple of seconds, I suspect, in traffic, but now we're really pushing for it, and I think Carlos Sainz has ended up behind us. So the undercut has worked in our favour as we are on lap 14. Halfway through the race, but there's a long way to go, especially on the medium tyre, with Carlos Sainz being on the hard, so he's going to have an advantage on us here. Meanwhile, this is Charles Leclerc again attacking Dennis Hauger. Hauger and Leclerc are seeming to have a battle all weekend. And then we've got De Vries and Bottas battling out. So Leclerc wins out in his battle with Hauger, and Bottas wins out in his battle with De Vries. And speaking of battling, here comes Carlos Sainz again. He's going to send one right down the inside here. I'm going to try and defend it. We do defend it. Sainz on the left, I'm on the right, and we hold on to P2 for now. So doing all right here, but there's still quite a bit of defending to do. And Magnussen, while we're battling each other, Magnussen is starting to close in. And Alonso in P5, he's also going to want a say in this as well. So Fernando Alonso has made his way forwards nicely, as once again we have defending from Carlos Sainz to do. And Sainz is right behind us. Is he going to pick a side? Where's he going? He's going for the right. I'm going to stick to the inside. And Carlos Sainz going around the outside. I've gone defensive, and we have just been able to hold the position. Running Sainz a little bit wide there, but holding on to P2 as we head towards the last few laps of the race. And these tyres are definitely not feeling quite as good as Carlos's are, I'd imagine. And Magnussen now has Alonso behind him, so those two are going to be keeping each other company. Down the inside of one, Sainz has a look, and again we're trying to run him wide, but we've got a little bit too wide. And this time Carlos Sainz takes the place. Carlos able to get past us for P2, but I'm now going to work on keeping P3 from Magnussen and Alonso. The Ferrari is just very quick in this race, and in fact Sainz managing to stretch the gap on us. George Russell then, he took the lead early on and just disappeared into the distance. We haven't seen or heard from him. Russell, an absolutely crushing performance at this US Grand Prix. He takes the win. It's going to be P2 for Carlos Sainz with much better hard tyres than the condition of our tyres. But it's going to be another podium here at the US Grand Prix. We take P3 to finish on the podium. A second podium in 3 races. That is what the doctor ordered there.
Well done, yes.
That's it then for another magnificent United States Grand Prix. And they've hung on to take a sublime victory here today. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I feel consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
While Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend, it's great to see them up on that podium once again. So let's
Getting ever closer to race-winning pace there as we manage to finish in P3. But it's George Russell who wins out and takes a full score of 25 points. It's second place for George Russell, and we managed to bring home third. So, a good weekend all round for us, with second in the sprint and third in the main event, taking a handy 22 points, which should now move us forward in the championship. Sainz gets second in that race, Russell winning it, and it's fourth place for Magnussen. He holds off Fernando Alonso, with Max Verstappen getting sixth. Oh, that was a tough race, but I'm glad that we were able to hold on to a podium place. And all in all, I would say that while there's still a bit more upgrading work to be done, the car is looking good moving forwards. And I think we can grab a couple more podiums out of this season. And Nick De Vries scoring a point for Aston Martin there. Here we go then, here's the championship standings. And we have moved ahead of Lance Stroll now with that podium. Fernando Alonso's championship lead still at around 21 points, so still a slight gap to Alonso from everybody else. But Russell and Sainz are definitely making themselves known in this fight. It is a four-way fight for the championship. Perez, Leclerc and Norris just out of touch now. P8 for us. I'm hoping that we can overtake Lando Norris at the very least. And I'm hoping that Dennis Hauger can score a few more points for us as well. Well, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are new here. Until the next time, TTFN guys, ta-ta for now.